Hey, hi, very good morning, and thank you so much for having taken the time to have joined in my session today. My name is Jay, and I'd be the presenter for the rest of the day. So for those of you who've joined in early, the webinar is about to begin in a few minutes. I would want you to be as comfortable as possible. You could even grab a notepad. I'm going to be giving you some time, a cup of coffee maybe, because we are going to have an interesting session today. Before we get started, I'd like to have a quick word with you guys to check if my audio and my video are loud and clear. So if you can see my screen, right, that says password management for remote employees made easy. If you can see my screen and if you can hear my voice loud and clear, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And if you can hear that, you can say great on the chat. 1, 2, 3. Lovely, lovely. I've already got responses. Wonderful. All right, we are all set and we will be starting the webinar pretty soon. Just give me a couple of minutes checking if everything is up and running. We've got a lot of attendees already coming in. We'll just wait for about a minute or lesser than that, in fact, maybe, because we've got an interesting topic and we will get started in a bit. Wonderful. We are all set. We've got the confirmation from a lot of you. That is a good sign. And on that note, once again, a very good morning and thank you so much for having taken the time to have joined me in today's session. Today's session is going to be an important and at the same time interesting topic that most of us administrators would want to know about. What exactly are we going to be talking about? We are going to be covering the first and foremost, and in fact, so to say, it's a very fundamental problem almost all organizations out there face, which is password management. And in this session, we would go beyond the basics of password management for Active Directory or an identity access management solution that's out there. We would be talking about what challenges would you be facing when you have a workforce that is remote, when you have a workforce that has a set of people who are required to travel all the time. So thanks to the growing connectivity and increasing mobility of devices, we are able to understand that there are more and more people day in, day out working out of office, working from probably a coffee shop, working from their home, working from the customer's place. They keep traveling all the time, be it a large enterprise or be it a small enterprise alike. We've got organizations that have employees who are taking their work on the road. And just like I pointed out earlier, the world becomes more and more connected. A company of any size may need employees to pursue business in different cities beyond their own headquarters in different countries around the world, and that becomes a mandatory requirement these days. And we've come to understand, in fact, we've got statistics that tells us that almost about 3.9 million US employees, which is about 3% roughly of the total US workforce, that works from home at least half the time of the year, and up to about 1.8 million of them have been continually increasing in that front. So I'm giving you numbers based on data from last year. So we are able to understand that the telecommuting report of state in 2017 gives us such huge numbers. So it becomes essential, or I would say it is important that you understand how to operate for employees who are on the go, employees who work from outside office. And again, one thing that you have to have in mind is the quality of service that we assure our employees. So if there's an employee who's working out of the office, it's bound, it's a fact that they are going to receive phenomenal service. They are always, having the advantage of reaching out to the administrator anytime they want. They could in fact walk up to the administrator and ask for help. On the other hand, if it were business travelers, they are going to be facing a unique set of risks. So we're talking about travelers who would be working from unfamiliar places. They could probably be not having the comfort of their company's infrastructure to support them, and in fact they would not even have the comfort of you guys being out there to help them with whatever quick requirement that they have. And this in turn could be detrimental in two ways. The first one would be from an organizational point of view. When their employees are on the go and when they're probably connected to Wi-Fi from Starbucks, let's say, there are multiple chances that there's some attacker out there wanting to snoop data or wanting to, thieve some important data that's available over the public Wi-Fi. So you would need to have in mind a methodology to ensure that the data does not leak. You would need to have more systems in place that probably stop anyone with a malicious intent. So companies with more and more distributed and global workforce are now realizing that it's important that their employees traveling outside have themselves trained for such instances. It's absolutely necessary. And in fact, towards the end of today's session, I will be giving you access to a best practice guide from Forrester, and this guide is for minimizing business travel risk. So it would cover multiple aspects of how IT or the IT department should take into consideration that it's easy and it becomes much more vulnerable to an attack when the employees are on the go. So we will be covering one such aspect that deals with business continuity as such. So if you were to take a close look at the agenda that's on the screen right now, we've listed one important problem that organizations have been facing for a long time. How does an employee who's on the go get the same service as that of an employee on premise? When an employee on the go forgets his or her password, this is more likely to happen because they have 100 things on their mind. They're not at the comfort of their desk. And in fact, for that matter, we will need to understand that it is of utmost essential that there's a security protocol that strengthens the access when an employee is trying to access any of the resources in the organization. One more level of security is definitely needed, and that's where multi-factor authentication comes into the picture. So we would be talking about quite a few concepts. We would be talking about how to secure log on, how to make sure that they have access to probably a password self-service functionality on the go, and a lot more through today's session. And one thing that all of us totally relate to is the fact that Active Directory, it's been around there for a very, very long time. The password policies haven't really changed. It's about 2 decades old, if I'm not wrong. The password policies are not up to date to meet what attackers are equipped with. Attackers have the liberty of going around downloading new tools, coming up with new methods to crack through environments, to crack through infrastructures. And like I told you, when employees are on the go, they become all the more vulnerable. Your firewalls, your systems, your protocols mostly are planned for your infrastructure and for workings inside your infrastructure. When they're on the go, they are definitely exposed, and you would never know what sort of espionage could take place, what sort of physical harm or cyber threat could be in store for the employee who's traveling. So it is utmost it's of utmost importance that the organization understands this. So understanding and relating to it is really important. Once you've got that flow, you would totally relate to the fact that there needs to be an extra layer of security or much more to AD password policy if given an option. So that's exactly what we'd be talking about through the second half of the session. We'd be understanding as to how to strengthen the existing password policy provided by Microsoft. All right. So through this phase, I'm going to be taking up a few cases, helping you relate to what happens, or helping you simulate and have in your mind as to what could probably be a real-time challenge that you face day in, day out. Let's say I'm on the go, all right, and just like always, because of my bad memory, I forget my password. I'm outside my office. I'm in fact in a different country, in a different time zone, all right. My headquarters is back in India, let's say, all right, and I'm connected to the hotel's Wi-Fi. I've got an important presentation to prepare for. I am trying to log into my system, and wow, I do not remember my password. what am I going to do right now? I'm going to try a few passwords, a few combinations. I don't give up that easy. So I'm going to go on and try till I remember. Uh-oh, doesn't seem to work. What do I do? What can I do? As usual, I'm going to quickly pick up my phone, call up my administrator, and there you go. I'm going to call up my administrator right now. I'm calling him. My administrator's lifted the phone, and in fact, my administrator, even though it's a different time zone, even though it's midnight back in India, the administrator is still gracious enough, is still helpful, picks up the call, asks for my problem patiently, and in fact goes on to offer me assistance, resets my password, and conveys the new password to me. Lovely. Such cool administrators are such a heartwarming addition to a team. So here you go. I'm going to quickly go on and key in the new password that the administrator has given me. I submit. Oh, it still doesn't work. I just called up my administrator and got my Active Directory password reset, and it still doesn't work. Could any of you tell me what exactly is the reason behind this? I called up my administrator reset my AD password, and I try using my new password, but still I am not able to get access. What is the problem right here? Perfect. Steve says that I am out of office and not connected to my Active Directory domain. That is absolutely right, Steve. But unfortunately, I am from the sales department and I have no clue as to how Active Directory works, or that if I'm out of office, it's going to be absolutely different. So I call up my administrator again, not having any clue as to why this didn't work. And this time I'm super angry at my administrator. I call him up and say, see, brother, this did not work. The password that you reset for me did not work. And the next question my administrator asks is where I am working from. And I then tell him that I am out of country. And that's when my administrator tells me, okay, do not worry. I've got a system in place. He explains to me as to what was the reason behind me not being able to reset or use the password that he had set, and instead tells me to follow something else or do something else. So this is my logon screen. My administrator now asks me to click on the reset password and unlock button right here. All right, let me check what that has to offer. All right, I am able to see a screen that is loading, and this is new. I've not tried this functionality before. Okay, and it gives me a provision to reset password. That's exactly what I want. I'm clicking on reset password. So I'm out of office. I'm away. I'm operating from a different time zone. I am not connected to my Active Directory domain, but still I have a functionality that tells me that it can help me reset my password. Quickly keying in my name. Thank goodness I've not forgotten my name yet. That is going to be my name going forward. Let's see what I have to do. My administrator tells me that I can self-serve myself. It is pretty easy, and hangs up the phone. I totally understand it's midnight, so I give him that. Wow, this seems pretty straightforward. So it's asking me to answer a few security questions for which I already know the answers for. All right, quickly keying in the answers. There's a captcha. Perfect. And I say continue. What do I have? I say continue. I can see a clock ticking. That means I gotta hurry up. I've said continue. Wow, I'm on a screen that gives me the provision to reset my password. And in fact, it is so straightforward that it also gives me the requirement or the password policy that I have to meet. And I also have a drop down with not just my Active Directory account, but also my accounts from Salesforce and quite a few other applications. Lovely. So I've handpicked those applications for which I want to reset my password in addition to Active Directory, because I've forgotten all of it. So I'm going to quickly key in a password that would fit the complexity requirement. I've done that. Lovely. So there's a meter that tells me if I've met the requirement right below. There you go. It says a green. I think I'm good to go. So all I need to do is enter the captcha. There you go. There's the captcha for me. And then all I need to do is say OK, and my password should be reset. That is pretty obvious. So what happened right now? I was out of office. I called up my administrator the first time and asked him to reset my password. He did do that, but still that turned out to be useless. The second time when I called up my administrator, I went on to give him more details and I told him that I am not in the country and I'm out of office, that I'm operating from a different time zone and a different place, and my administrator gave me a different solution that asked me a few questions for which I already knew the answers for. And I had a provision. I landed on a page where I could reset my password, not just for my Active Directory, but quite a few applications. It seemed to be pretty straightforward. What exactly happened in the background? The reason is you had ADSelfService Plus, the password self-service tool from Manage Engine installed at the background. So what happened was this additional functionality that you see on the screen. Reset password and unlock account button that popped up when ADSelfService Plus was installed by my intelligent administrator. And in fact, this is not just another password self-service tool that just lets my users inside the organization have access to password self-service. That would be too mainstream and too easy, right? So we're talking about a tool that would let any employee on the go, irrespective of the fact he or she is connected to the domain or not, they would get the same functionality, the same treatment. That is something that I love. And that was possible because there was a VPN portal that got established when the button got clicked. The client, which is my Gina screen, the logon screen, did have a button. All I had to do was click on that big button. That in turn opened a gateway and helped me reach to my ADSelfService Plus, the solution, the one that the administrator had in place to help reset my own password. And ADSelfService Plus in turn contacted with my Active Directory, and upon validation, upon authenticating that it was me, based on the answers that I had given, the right answers that I had given, ADSelfService Plus verified my identity, took the request of my new password, had the new password rewritten on my Active Directory, got back to me with a confirmation message, came back through the same VPN network, reached out to my node or my laptop, in this case my Windows 8 laptop, reached out to it, overwrote the cached credentials that were present on my laptop, letting me successfully use the reset password. We're talking about the provision to use the password that I just reset to log into my system. If it had worked the way it's supposed to work. I have a question from Tad, and Tad asks me, what happens if a traveling user can't log in to get a Wi-Fi connection? Okay, Tad, so it goes like this. The basic requirement right here is the computer or the system that the user is carrying should be a device that's above Windows 7 number 1. And let's pray that the user had connected to the network before. So a LAN connection is a foolproof mechanism right here. A LAN connection that has free access to the internet is a foolproof mechanism right here. A Wi-Fi would be a little challenging. So that's one thing that we have to have in mind. So for the connection to go through, there needs to be an active internet connection, and assuming that it is available, we would be able to do this. So thanks for the question, Tad. I think a lot of other users would also have this question. So I am going to take note of the password that my that I reset for myself through the tool. Okay. And I'm going to quickly key in the password and check if I can get into the system. So here, all I needed was an active internet connection. All right. And my laptop, and I didn't need anything else. I had a tool that would let me reset my password from my logon screen, thanks to the fact that there was a VPN connection that got established in the background. In fact, Tad and guys, most of the time the biggest challenge is how do you get the solution to trigger or turn the VPN on? Let's say that's another problem, right? So even if you had access to the Wi-Fi, it would have been it would have been a problem to initiate the VPN connection well in advance, right? So that is where the solution comes into the picture and gives you a close integration with all these providers right here. So here you go. We've got Fortinet, we've got SonicWall, we've got Checkpoint, Cisco, and a few other clients. And just in case, if you have your own VPN client, that can also be configured under the custom VPN functionality that the solution offers. I'm going to quickly open up the solution that has helped me all along through this process. It's called ADSelfService Plus. It's the password self-service management tool from ManageEngine. The dashboard that you see right here lets you have a quick overview. So this is the administrator who's logged in. From an admin point of view, would let the admin get a quick glimpse of what's the status in the organization with regards to the passwords that need to be reset, with regards to the accounts that need to be unlocked, with regards to people who have not changed their password in quite some time. So this is going to be an exhaustive list of things related to password that you'd want to take a look at. So now we are talking about quickly understanding how did this work in the background, or how was the configuration done for the VPN connection to be established, for the VPN connection to be triggered, though I was not logged on to my laptop, though I still did not get access to my laptop and log on. So here you go. We are talking about getting the provision, all right, on my lock screen, on my Gina screen, or in fact, if you have a Mac, yeah, on a Mac screen as well, all right. So the only prerequisite is the user should have been enrolled in the tool, as simple as that. And the administrator, from the comfort of their desktop or from the comfort of their server, can roll out this plugin to all the nodes out there in the organization. So we are talking about VPN right here. So here what I'd want to do is I want to walk you through as to what vendors are supported and how simple the configuration is. So all I got to do is get into the configurations, get into Genome Mac settings, enable the VPN. This ensures that irrespective of the fact that the user is in the environment or not, the moment they click on the reset password, a gateway is established ready for the connection to go through. So I've got a custom VPN configured in my case. I do not use any of the vendors that were pre-listed, and I have my own VPN. I could very much have that configured, and there are quite a few vendors. In fact, in the previous session that I was handling, I had a friend asking if we support Cisco AnyConnect, and there you go, we've got support for that as well. So we are consistently working towards adding more and more vendors day in, day out, just in case if you're listening to the webinar and you have a vendor for which you need support, feel free to write to me right now on the chat, and I'm going to make a note of it and take back to our development team and check if we could have the vendor also supported. And in fact, any day this would work flawless for me, which is the custom VPN functionality. I'm going to quickly key in a few basic requirements, basic VPN configurations, and this command line right here will make all the difference. So every single time when I click on that reset password button on my log on screen, thanks to ADSelfService Plus, a VPN connection gets established in the background, and ADSelfService Plus can be reached. ADSelfService Plus verifies for your identity, checks if you've answered the question right. You can also modify the questions, and you can have different factors of authentication. I'll be covering that in a while, but just sticking to the basics right now. It lets you then do a password reset on Active Directory and a few other platforms. You can get back with the right credentials overwritten on your cached credentials, and then successfully log in just like I showed you a while ago. All right. So what we need to understand is, just in case if you have any trouble getting this configured, we have a reference guide right here, right below this functionality. You can very well take help from there, or our support folks are always available 24/5 to help you out with any queries in terms of getting this configured. So the first problem that we just tackled is, how do I get my users on the go to avail the same self-service functionality that my users inside the organization have, so they would be able to make use of any of these VPN providers that are paired along with ADSelfService Plus to do a self-password reset outside the office environment at the comfort of their logon screen. That is the first functionality for the day, and that is from a business continuity standpoint. So you would not want a critical resource in your organization who's supposed to make the $1 million presentation tomorrow not being able to access their laptop and that going all bad. That's not a possibility. We would not want that. And we as administrators, when we strive to ensure that everything is up and running, this is one another tool that you would want to have in your kitty. So here, the first part of the session, we were talking about how business continuity is important and how to ensure it with a VPN in the background. Next part is from a security standpoint. Like I mentioned earlier, when employees are on the go, your organization is at a greater risk. Data thievery is definitely a possibility. We would definitely need a solution that would strengthen the existing policies. So I would want a provision to check if my user, is the one who's logging in. And I would love if it was very, very personal and secure. What I'm talking about is multi-factor authentication. So what would you give me if I tell you, you can ensure that there is another factor of authentication right on the logon screen. So when your users are traveling, you can have custom policies in place for just those users who are on the go and ensure there's another factor of authentication right on the logon screen. So we are talking about ways that would not let anybody crack through your system, irrespective of the fact that how many ways our users find to get around the existing security policies in place, set insecure passwords or not so strong passwords. You can very well take control of that situation, push them to do what is necessary. In fact, make them change their passwords once in a while. You could very much do that through the solution that we're talking about, and also make it really, really difficult for attackers to crack through the problem. So how does this work? I'm going to give you away the answer in a bit. And before that, like I was talking about, how do we get them on board? So most of the times I've seen this happening in a lot of organizations. In fact, quite a few employees go to extents to mark any mail from the IT administrator to go straight into the spam, straight into the trash. They do that all the time, do they not? Or most of them do not even open the email from the administrator. What do we do? Microsoft's inbuilt way of reminding users is a pop-up for a password reset. It's just a pop-up. It tells you that your password's about to reset. Password needs a reset. It's about to expire. And what's the instinctive reaction of any employee who sees a pop-up? They close it. That's what they do. So I would want a foolproof system in place where I could enroll the users based on my requirement, based on the flow that I want to take into action. I could force enroll them, as in, if I have this in place, they would not able to be getting access. They would not able to bypass this screen before enrolling. They would need to answer a few security questions. They would need to enroll themselves, and that's when they'd have access to whatever application they're trying to use on their laptop. So this is forced enrollment. It works every single time, trust me. So this is what I would do. But then if you are the gentle kind, and if your employees are the kind who listen to what you say, you could use the other methods where you can send them notifications over push, over email, over text. And in fact, you can go one step further and do it for them, where you enroll them from an external database of data that's already available. So we've been talking about how to make it simple for remote employees. And here's another way where you keep it really, really simple. Don't put them under pressure. You do it on their behalf, enroll them, and just let them know that they are enrolled. All right. So we were talking about securing the whole idea, or making it a lot more secure for employees on the go. So I would definitely recommend, as a best practice, to have a multi-factor authentication in place. There are quite a few options that come bundled with the product. And in fact, the most recent one that we have added lets you add a touch ID to the authentication. So when they're logging on to their Active Directory, how wonderful would it be if they had to pass through another phase of authentication, get access to Active Directory or their systems after they authenticated with a Touch ID or with a Google Authenticator code. So we are talking about a system. In this case, I'm taking the example of two-factor authentication. All right, a system that is going to ensure that my user will be able to access his or her laptop, his or her system on the go only after they confirm a security code that they've received over email, a security code that they've received over text on their Windows logon screen. So we are curtailing anything that could possibly go wrong right at the place or right at the source where the problem could begin. So here you go. The flow diagram tells you the first factor of authentication is obviously the username and password. The second factor of authentication is going to be the one that you've configured for them. It could be anything ranging from a simple OTP to a email that they receive, or other factors like Duo, RSA, and Radius. All right. And finally, if they got it right, they'd be able to access their Windows machine. So you made it secure instantaneously. So it doesn't really matter at this point if the password is not so strong as well. We've got another layer of security right here to ensure that there's no intruder who tries to snoop in. So even if they have access to our credentials on the go, because we are on the go and we were a little careless about our credentials, they would not be able to crack through the second factor here. And that way we are ensuring security. So I'm going to show you a quick demo right here. So what you see right here is a user trying to log in when he or she is out of office. In this case, they're logging in, they've keyed in their credentials. That opens up the ADSelfService Plus portal where you can choose from the verification methods that are available. I say email and I say continue. What do I have right here? I need to key in an email code. So I've received one on my Gmail right now. I'm quickly getting hold of the code, having it copied, get it pasted back into the verification, and then say continue. And that's exactly when I will get access to my environment. There you go. You can see that I've got access to my environment. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. So what did we have right here? We had a two-factor authentication in place that sent me a code over my email that I had to enter on my logon screen before I could get access. So this is a very useful functionality to ensure security, not just for users who are on the road, but for even employees who are working inside your organization. Yes, this is the next side to remote employees and what could you as an administrator do. All right. So we've been talking about security for quite some time. We've also been talking about business continuity. One thing that we will need to have in mind is why to take all the pain, in doing all this. Instead, if there was a mechanism to prompt the users at the right time regarding their password expiry, wouldn't it be a lot more simpler for everyone? The user does their own password reset or changes their password when it's needed to be changed. So the notification tool that we have is a free functionality. I will be giving you access to the notification tool, which is the password expiry notifier that notifies your users in email and in a text message, and in fact even on a push message, which could be sent out in a phased interval. You can remind your users 1 week before the password expiry, 3 days before the password expiry, or even 1 day prior to it, or do any frequency, like on a daily basis or a weekly basis. I leave it absolutely up to you. You know your employees the best. So what we are trying to do right here is to have a solution that would give you access to let your employees make the decision of resetting their passwords just because they keep receiving notifications over and over in every single possible touch point on their email and on their texts, on their push, and eventually they end up resetting their passwords or changing their passwords based on your requirements. So in fact, the product has quite a few handy reports that tell you whose password is about to expire soon. And especially if you find a few employees who are on the go, your telecommuters in that list, you would definitely want to send them out immediate notification. The product has that functionality. The reports in ADSelfService Plus give you access to those users whose passwords are about to expire. And just like I told you, in case if there are any telecommuters there, you would definitely want to ensure that they reset their passwords even before they begin their travel. So you could configure the product to do all that. You could have granular password policies for different users in belonging to different OUs, belonging to different groups. There you go. You got a set of users right here. You got a set of reports right here. And this one right here is a very handy report that tells me whose password is about to expire. And I can initiate a trigger right from the report then and there. Alright, so we are talking about a free tool from Manage Engine. We'd love to give you this, take access over it. We're going to be sharing the link towards the end of the session to download this free tool and ensure that they get access to it. So we are talking about a solution that does this and a lot more in terms of password security. So in the beginning, I was talking about what was Microsoft lacking in terms of the password policy. The password policies are not stringent enough. The password policies definitely need to be worked on, and ADSelfService Plus in fact steps in and helps you strengthen the gaps, alright, or fill the gaps. I'm going to show you. So here you go. So I have a password policy enforcer. Alright, and this password policy enforcer works like magic. I can select, pick and choose which set of users need this functionality. I can ensure that someone who's on the go and traveling, their account and identity needs to be checked over and over. I can have more factors of authentication pegged against their identity. And here, if you can see, beyond just the basic Microsoft password policies, you have the provision like uploading a dictionary. So that would help you prevent your organization against a dictionary attack. So you answer the problem at its cost, or you tackle the problem at its source. So here you go. I would be able to stop any user from using a word from the dictionary. I would be able to override the maximum length and minimum length. I can include more special characters. I can have more custom rules set. In fact, I can disallow users or not allow users from using common passwords. Passwords like password at 123, organization at 123, and I can make sure that my traveling employees or telecommuters have a stronger password policy enforced, and they getting access to all of it or adhering to all of it right from their Gina or account logout screen. Here you go. Pretty simple, straightforward functionality. I can enforce that on the logout screen and they'd know what to adhere to. So this is pretty straightforward and simple. And in case if you're an administrator like myself, I like this functionality the best. I would want to override all rules that are set. I would want my user to set a passphrase, because a passphrase has a higher entropy than any other password. A passphrase would look something like this. As simple as this. So it's got a lot of characters in it. It's very lengthy as well. So you can let them have passwords that are longer than 20 characters. It could be a sentence that they would want to remember, and the entropy of the password becomes higher instantaneously, and it becomes difficult for the attacker to crack through. There are quite a few best practices that we have put together. In fact, there's a guide regarding how to set passwords for your users and how to make sure that they adhere to it. There are a lot of guides that I would love to share with you towards the end of the session. Just in case if you need any of them, please drop a message with your email ID and I would love to send a copy of it. So we've been talking about employees on the go. We've been talking about how to set stronger security practices in place if you have such employees. And this is one problem that has been pestering administrators for years now. So let's do this quick math right here. We've got about, let's say, 500 employees working in the organization. about 30% of the calls that the help desk receives based on data is for password reset. That sums up to about 3,000, close to 3,000 odd calls every single year for just password reset. So we've been having this problem, and in fact, now that my workforce is also traveling and on the go, that number could definitely go up. So the cost that is incurred in just resetting the passwords is phenomenal. So it's your call to make. If you're wondering if you'd want a password self-service tool that lets you do all this, if you want or not, you can always take a look at this calculator and make the decision. And there's definitely single sign-on for your users. You can specify who gets what access from one dashboard based on Active Directory logon, different users, different applications, different departments, different applications. You could set such configurations. You could help them reset their passwords from the convenience of their logon screen. So the decision is yours to make. You have a self-service tool that lets you do all of this, and we would love to be by your side when you do this. We would love to help you when you tackle your challenges, and I personally would love to listen if you have any specific challenge related to identity management or password management back in your organization, and I could see of what help I could offer. Alright, thank you so much. I hope this session has been helpful. We were talking about how to strengthen security when your employees are on the go, how to empower them to self-serve themselves for password management when they are on the go. My name is Jay, your presenter for the day. You have my email ID on the screen. Please reach out to me in case you have any queries. I'm going to be sticking around for some more time. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them right now. Thank you. Bye-bye. We've got a question from Lavant. Just a quick second. The question is if I can show the slide with the email authentication, the two-factor authentication that was in place. That's exactly what I'm going to do right now. But the slide displayed right there on the screen. So the process goes like this. The user tries to log in to their system. Just a quick second. Let me get this up. So this is basically Windows two-factor authentication. The user tries to log into their system. They are on the go. I have a password policy that demands the user to choose a verification method. And in this case, the verification available is the email verification. The user accepts to the email verification. The user will receive an instant email with an one-time password or a second factor. The user has to copy the verification code and get back to the logon screen, key in the verification code, say continue, and they, after successful verification, would get access to their desktop. And there you go. That's how it works. I hope I answered your question. It was on Windows two-factor authentication from the logon screen. Did I answer your question? Did that answer your question? Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've got more questions coming in. I am also taking them parallelly on the chat. If you've got any other such interesting questions, I'd love to answer them. Thank you so much for your time, guys. You can leave the feedback form or fill the feedback form that comes towards the end of the session. Tell us how you felt about the session. We would love to hear what you have to say about today's session. Thank you so much. You have been such a wonderful audience, and it's been my pleasure. My name is Jay, and you can reach out to me at jay@manageengine.com. jay@manageengine.com. Thank you so much.